Ever heard someone say it's raining cats and dogs and wondered what on earth they were talking about? Well, you're not alone. Every language has its quirks, and English is no exception. One of these quirks is idioms, phrases that don't mean exactly what they say. They're a colorful, often humorous way of expressing thoughts or feelings that literal language just can't capture. Imagine trying to explain that you're extremely busy to a non-English speaker. You could say, "I'm as busy as a bee," and they'd probably give you a puzzled look. But to an English speaker, the meaning is clear. Idioms might seem baffling at first, but they're a crucial part of everyday conversations. They add spice to our language, making it more vibrant and engaging. So you see, understanding idioms isn't just about learning words. It's about getting a glimpse into the culture and mindset of English speakers. Ready to dive into the world of English idioms? Let's get started. Animals seem to pop up a lot in English idioms. Ever wondered why? Well, animals have been integral to human life for centuries, providing food, labor, and companionship. It's no surprise that they've found their way into our language as metaphors and similes in the form of idioms. Let's dive into the jungle of English idioms and start with the elephant in the room. This idiom refers to an obvious problem or difficult situation that people avoid talking about. Think of how hard it would be to ignore an actual elephant in your living room. Next up is a fish out of water, which is used to describe someone who is in a situation that they are not comfortable with or not used to. Picture a fish gasping for breath on dry land, and you can understand how this idiom came to be. Then we have the bird's eye view. This phrase is used to describe a view from a very high perspective, as if seen by a bird in flight. Birds have the highest vantage point of all animals, so it's no wonder we use this idiom to describe a comprehensive overview. Moving on, we come across, "let the cat out of the bag." This idiom means to reveal a secret. The origins of this phrase are unclear, but it's commonly believed to come from a time when piglets were sold in bags at markets. If someone was deceitful and put a cat in the bag instead, the secret would be out once the cat was let out. Other animal idioms include barking up the wrong tree, making a false assumption or mistake. The world is your oyster. You have the freedom and ability to do anything you want, and a leopard can't change its spots. People cannot change their fundamental nature. So, as you can see, animals play a significant role in English idioms, bringing color, humor, and vivid imagery to our language. They help us express complex ideas and emotions in a simple, relatable way. So next time someone talks about killing two birds with one stone, you'll know they're not planning a bird massacre. Ever noticed how the weather seems to play a big part in English idioms? Weather, with its capricious changes and powerful effects, has always been a rich source of metaphors in English. Let's explore 10 popular English idioms that involve weather. First off, we have "it's raining cats and dogs," which simply means it's raining very heavily. The origin of this phrase is a bit murky, but it certainly paints a vivid picture of a downpour. Next up is "break the ice." While it might conjure images of polar explorers, it actually refers to the act of starting a conversation or activity, especially in a tense or awkward situation. Think of it as breaking through a frozen surface to reach the warmer waters of communication underneath. Then there's "under the weather." If you're feeling under the weather, you're not feeling well. It's as if you're weighed down by dark clouds of illness. We also have a "storm in a teacup." This phrase describes a situation where people are making a big fuss about a minor issue. The storm represents the fuss, and the teacup, the small scale of the problem. "Save for a rainy day" is another common weather idiom. It encourages us to save money or resources for tough times ahead, much like storing food for a period of bad weather. When you're on cloud nine, you're extremely happy, as if floating high above earthly concerns on a fluffy cloud. If something goes down a storm, it's very successful or well received, like the nourishing rain that helps crops grow. "Chase rainbows" refers to pursuing unrealistic or unattainable goals, just as it's impossible to catch a rainbow. "Steal someone's thunder" means to take the credit for someone else's work. It's like stealing the thunder that rightfully belongs to the lightning. Finally, "every cloud has a silver lining" is a popular idiom, meaning that every bad situation has a positive aspect. So the next time you hear "every cloud has a silver lining," remember it's not about actual clouds. English speakers seem to have a lot of idioms related to food. Hungry for knowledge? Let's start with "the apple of my eye." This phrase doesn't mean someone is trying to stick an apple in your eye. It's actually a term of endearment, meaning someone who is cherished more than others. For example, "my youngest daughter is the apple of my eye." Next up, "take with a grain of salt." This idiom has nothing to do with your dietary sodium intake. Instead, it means to be skeptical about something or not take it too seriously. You might hear it used like this: I'd take his advice with a grain of salt. He's known for exaggerating. Now, spill the beans. No, we're not talking about clumsily knocking over a can of beans. This phrase means to reveal a secret or confidential information, like when you accidentally tell your friend about the surprise party, you've just spilled the beans. Moving on to a piece of cake. This isn't about sharing dessert, it's a way of saying that something is easy or simple to do. Like when your friend asks if you can help them move furniture and you respond, "Sure, it'll be a piece of cake." Here's a fun one: butter someone up. No, you don't need to reach for the dairy. This means to flatter or praise someone, usually to gain a favor. For instance, he's just trying to butter you up so you'll lend him your car. Next, cry over spilled milk. This isn't about being upset over a minor mess. It's about expressing regret or frustration over something that has already happened and cannot be changed. There's no use crying over spilled milk. We'll just try again next time. Finally, you can't have your cake and eat it too. This isn't a cruel joke about dessert deprivation. It's a way of saying that you can't have it both ways or enjoy two incompatible things at the same time. So don't be surprised if someone tells you you can't have your cake and eat it too. They're not necessarily talking about dessert. Body parts often make an appearance in English idioms. Let's put our best foot forward and explore some of them. Kicking off our list is the saying, "cost an arm and a leg," which means something is very expensive. Picture a purchase so pricey that you'd have to give up your own limbs to afford it. Next up, we have get cold feet. No, this doesn't mean you've forgotten your socks in the winter. It is used to express nervousness or fear, usually just before a big event. So if you're about to give a speech and you're feeling anxious, you've got cold feet. Now, if someone tells you they're going to pull your leg, don't worry, they're not planning a prank involving your limbs. They're simply teasing you or joking around. So when your friend tells you that they won the lottery, only to laugh and say they were just pulling your leg, they're using this idiom. Moving on, if someone asks you to give them a hand, they're not requesting a high five, they're asking for your help. So if your neighbor asks you to give them a hand with their garden, they're asking you to assist them, not donate your appendage. Then there's keep your chin up, which is a way of telling someone to stay positive and not let their spirits drop. So if someone tells you to keep your chin up during a tough time, they're encouraging you to remain optimistic. Have a heart is another idiom, used to appeal to someone's compassion. If you're pleading with your boss for an extra day off, you might ask them to have a heart. Another idiom is break a leg, which, despite its violent imagery, is actually a way to wish someone good luck, especially before a performance. Finally, if someone says they'd give their right arm for something, they're not scheduling an appointment with the surgeon. They're simply expressing their intense desire for that thing. Now, you won't be taken aback if someone tells you they'd give their right arm for something. They're not planning any drastic surgeries. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? Indeed, we embarked on a fascinating journey through the language landscape, exploring 100 basic English idioms. These idioms, as we've discovered, are more than just combinations of words. They're a critical part of the English language, adding color, depth, and flavor to our conversations. We kicked things off by delving into the wild and wonderful world of animal idioms. From letting the cat out of the bag to being a dark horse, we saw how animals have found their way into English idioms in the most imaginative ways. Then we turned our gaze to the skies, exploring idioms inspired by the weather. We learned that raining cats and dogs doesn't mean a downpour of pets, and that being on cloud 9 has nothing to do with actual clouds. These idioms, although seemingly bizarre, are used to express strong emotions or describe extreme situations. Next, we ventured into the delicious realm of food idioms. We found out that spilling the beans doesn't involve any actual beans, and taking something with a pinch of salt doesn't require any seasoning. These food-inspired idioms, we realized, are used to convey a variety of meanings, from revealing secrets to expressing skepticism. Our journey then took us to the human body, where we explored idioms related to various body parts. We discovered that having cold feet doesn't mean your feet are literally cold, and keeping an ear to the ground doesn't mean pressing your ear against the floor. These idioms, we learned, are often used to express feelings, perceptions, or actions. Throughout this exploration, it became clear that understanding idioms is crucial for English language learners. Idioms can be tricky because their meanings often don't align with the literal definitions of the words they contain. However, with practice and exposure, you can master them, enriching your English language skills and allowing you to communicate more effectively and naturally. Remember, idioms are an integral part of the English language, and they're used regularly in everyday conversations, in the media, and in literature. So, don't shy away from them, embrace them, learn them, use them. The more you do, the more comfortable you'll become with them. To wrap up, we've journeyed through the animal kingdom, danced in the rain, savored delicious foods, and explored the human body, all through the lens of English idioms. These colorful expressions, while sometimes puzzling, are a key part of the English language, so keep this journey going. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep practicing. Learning idioms can be a piece of cake if you take it one at a time, so keep practicing, and soon you'll be using them like a native speaker